This is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent podcast hosted by me, Kelly Donahue-Piro. This show is for growing agencies looking to maximize their biggest investment, their people. We mash up our 3-minute videos from the previous week, all with tips on how to be ridiculously amazing at insurance sales, retention, processes, marketing, running in an agency, and time management. If you want them daily, like us on social media as they're posted. But let's get started. Hey everybody, Kelly Donahue-Piro here from Agency Performance Partners, and we've got our 4 videos this week of how to deal with an Eeyore. You might have heard me say in the beginning video that we're going to be changing things up in the month of July. We won't be doing daily 3-minute videos. They will still be in existence, but we have such a library now and such a collection. We want to make room for some other forms of content that we're really excited about. So that will be coming soon. But for today's purposes, if you like our 3-minute videos, go to YouTube and subscribe. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Make sure you're seeing all the content because some of the things we've got in the hopper are awesome. And I think you're going to provide such great value as free content for your agency. So don't miss out. So in this 3-minute video series, we're going to talk about how to find an Eeyore. Can you change an Eeyore? Inquiring minds want to know. Looking for the patterns of your Eeyores and how to move around Eeyores in your agency. So without further ado, let's get started on the first video. All right, on this video, we talk about labeling your Eeyores, how to find them, what characteristics they have, and the fact that there's probably different levels of Eeyoreism in your agency. So watch this video or listen to it as I describe how to identify and target Eeyores. Hey everyone, it's Kelly Donahue-Piro here from Tacoma, Washington, shooting your 3-minute videos for the week. And today we're talking about how to deal with an Eeyore. And so if you know anything about some of the work we've done in the past, we talk about Eeyores and Tiggers in an agency. And Tiggers are all systems go, let's get after it, let's try new things. And Eeyores are the ones that are just kind of stuck in the mud and don't want to do anything. And the on-hold times of carriers are so long. I know I do a phenomenal Eeyore impersonation. So we want to give you 4 strategies to deal with Eeyores inside of an agency because we have to keep moving and working around them. And a lot of times Eeyores just need a little Tigger love, right? So in this 3-minute video series, we're going to talk about, identifying your Eeyores. Sharon's going to talk about, can you change an Eeyore? You got to find their patterns and then how to move forward around an Eeyore. So for me today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to identify an Eeyore. And before I get started, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, I just want to let you guys know, coming in July, we're going to be changing up our 3-minute videos, which means that we're not going to be doing them daily. We're going to be doing them a little differently. So stay tuned for that. So you can always go back through our library. We actually have over 2 years worth of daily 3-minute videos, and we were doing video blogs before then. So I guarantee you need something, we have it for you. Also, if you look on our videos, we don't do any ads, sponsorships, anything like that. We're just here to give good news out to the insurance space. So if you like it, tag it, subscribe to it, get in the zone with it so that way we can make sure at all points in time you're getting our awesome communication. So don't worry, 3-minute videos aren't going away altogether, and we're going to be replacing with some different forms of content. So you will still be getting good, high quality content for your agency from us, just a little different format. So let's talk first about how to identify an Eeyore in your agency. Oh my goodness. I think you might be saying, well, how do I identify the non-Eeyores sometimes? They kind of stick out. The body language is a little low. Anytime you give any good news, it could be, well, what about XYZ? They tend to think a little bit more of the negative. They tend to resist change. And a lot of times if change is coming, they tend to be really anxious about pending changes. Now, some of this is being Eeyore, some of it's just a personality type. There are definitely some people who are just more suspect in general in the long run, and that's okay too. What I want to share with everybody is that once you know you have an Eeyore, you just have to treat them a little differently. You have to expect it. Don't get frustrated by it. Almost disassociate from it. Many leaders try to change Eeyores, which Sharon's going to talk a little bit. I don't know if you can change them. You can improve them. You can modify them. They can come forward. But for the most part, all of our different personalities add value to an agency. And so when an Eeyore is putting the brakes on something and you have a super Tigger, maybe there needs to be a few brakes put on. But the reality is collaboration together is the key. Now, when you have an Eeyore, there's obviously different levels of Eeyoreism, I should say. If an Eeyore is becoming a cancer in the agency, that has to be dealt with, and it can't be let to go on and on and on. If there's just somebody who's more of a skeptic, what's a different skill set? A true definition of an Eeyore is just sort of a cancer in your agency. They're starting trouble behind everyone's back. They're resistant to everything. They're openly negative. They're not professional about it. In fact, a lot of times they're just downright destructive and disrupt the whole thing because people are sick of hearing about it. If you allow an Eeyore to continue in your agency, you will lose good people because Tiggers, quite frankly, are done with trying to change Eeyores over time. It seems like a roadblock to success. So find your Eeyores, understand who they are, and identify that this is going to be one of your challenges as a leader is working with an Eeyore. Next up, Heath Sharon's going to talk a little bit about, can you change an Eeyore? We'll see you in the next 3-minute video. Next up, Mr. Heath Sharon, the mayor, talks about how, and if it's possible, to change an Eeyore. A lot of times we want people to all be symbiotic and work seamlessly together. And that's a great thought, but not great in execution. So in this 3-minute video, Heath's going to talk about if you can change an Eeyore.
Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's the mayor here, Heath Sharon, live from Memphis, Tennessee, and talking to you today about how to deal with Eeyores. We're going to talk about that this week. And today we're talking about, can you change an Eeyore? And, I know we all want to think of ourselves, or I should say it this way, none of us want to think of ourselves as Eeyores. Nobody wakes up in the mornings that I know of and says, you know what, I'm just going to be an Eeyore today. Maybe we have those days where it's like, I don't want to do anything today, or I'm feeling lethargic, or I don't feel well, but just a general disruptor or a general Eeyore to be a cancer in the agency, as Kelly said. None of us think that way, or they want to be that way, and we all want to think of ourselves as more like Tigger and more ready to go and get the job done and bounce around. And we all want to have that symbiotic relationship, and sometimes we just don't, and each person plays their own role within the agency. But today, we're going to talk about, can you change an Eeyore? And I think sometimes that breaks down to why someone might be an Eeyore. And maybe it's looking and figuring out the roles in the agency. And a lot of times they might be an Eeyore, they might be disruptive or pushing back or not wanting to do certain things because maybe they're in the wrong seats. Maybe they're not in the right role in the agency. Maybe they're not excited about the work that they do because they, either overworked, or maybe they don't fit that role very well, or they're just unhappy. And so I don't know if we can change them, but I think if we could, maybe it would be, finding a role that fits best for them, or maybe sitting down and talking to them. Maybe they don't know that they're being a cancer in the agency. Maybe they don't know that they're being an Eeyore. And I think maybe it starts with a leadership team sitting down with someone and just, visiting with them and talking to them about what's going on. And maybe it's something they're dealing with at home. Maybe it's something they're dealing with in their life. Maybe it's just something they need to deal with, and maybe they need a couple of days off. Maybe it's something like that. Or maybe, in your reviews with them, you discuss this with them and figure out what it is. Maybe they need to, have their role changed up a little bit. Or maybe some of the tasks that they have to do as part of the job description may need to change. And again, that may or may not work. And if that's something that doesn't work, maybe getting the rest of the team involved to be able to talk about this as a team and have the whole team come together and explain and talk about just the culture of the agency, what your expectations are. Maybe it's not communicated properly, the expectations. But I think clear communication with the Eeyore in the office could definitely help in this situation. Can you change someone? There's a difference in someone who's having a bad day, or someone that's having an Eeyore-esque day, to use Eeyore-isms, or maybe they're just having a rough patch in life. But if it's a perpetual Eeyore in the agency, sometimes you may have to snip those out and get rid of them altogether if they truly are in that sense. But I think maybe starting with looking at what their job is and discussing that with them and figuring out what that is, because there's some of those people in your life that are in your agency that are Eeyores. They're really good at what they do, maybe, and they really have their strong places and their strong points in what they do. Maybe they just need to have their role defined a little. Maybe they're really good at one thing, but they don't enjoy doing another. And maybe we could figure out a way to make that process easier for them, or that role in their job description a little easier for them, or something that they might enjoy, or take that off of their plate and give that role to someone who's more of a Tigger. I think there's a place for someone to push back if they're uncomfortable in things, or if someone's pushing back on something, maybe there's a place for the brakes to be pumped, as Kelly said yesterday. But all in all, can you change an Eeyore? I think it comes down to figure out maybe why they are an Eeyore. And if they're still resistant to change, and still resistant to adapting to agency culture, or resistant to any kind of change for that matter, I think that it might be a time to get rid of the cancer in the agency, get rid of the bad vibes to help the entire team. And one other note on that, you can't go into that with a fear or a scarcity mentality that if I let the Eeyore go, I'm gonna have a hard time filling that position, because there are plenty of candidates out there. There are plenty of options out there for us to replace them with. And it's just a matter of having that confidence to be able to go in and talk to the Eeyore and visit with them about maybe building their confidence and going back to a place where they feel like they can be less of an Eeyore or more of a Tigger for that matter. Guys, I really look forward to me learning this week and also participating in this week's 3-minute videos. Hope this has been a little bit helpful for you, and stay tuned for the next one.
Hi, everyone. It's a special PSA, a public service announcement here for our loyal followers and listeners of our 3-minute videos. So we started doing a daily 3-minute video when COVID hit. It was our way of connecting, and people were at home, and we wanted to bring positivity to the world. But now, as we have hit the 2-year mark of doing a daily video, we've decided it's time to change things up a little bit. We have some other forms of content that we think you're going to love. So the 3-minute videos will not be putting in a graveyard. They are instead going to be changed up a little bit. So what you're going to see is a little bit of a throwback video. We're going to highlight our top 10 greatest hits in the last 2 weeks. Then we're going to go all into talking about commercial sales, as Heath Sharon is emerging with his new course on how to prospect and sell commercial. So great for anybody out there. You're going to start to see our content change up in the month of July and get into a new rhythm in August. We can't thank you enough for your loyalty to our 3-minute videos. We know that they've given people a lot of tips and tricks, and we've gotten a ton of followers out of them. But just like everything in life, all good things must come to an end, and we think we've got something extra special cooking up our sleeves, so we can't wait to share that with you. In the meantime, please go like our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Like them. That's where you're going to get special announcements. Also, make sure you're watching your email for even more special announcements on everything. We appreciate everything that you guys have done, and we can't wait to share with you different forms of content. So we're not going away. You're still going to get all the APP awesomeness in your inboxes and on your social media channels. We're just going to change things up just a smidge to make it even more ridiculously amazing for you. Thank you so much, and we absolutely look forward to what's next. Take care. The next thing we're going to focus on Eeyoreism is finding their pattern. Everybody has a pattern, including the Eeyores in your agency. So what this means is that there will be times where things are good, things are bad, but everybody usually has a set pattern that they follow on anything that they're being Eeyores about. So watch for that pattern, understand where you are in the process, and how you can keep moving and still integrating the team into any changes or anything new when you have an Eeyore on your hands. All right, on to our next topic around Eeyores. And this is to find their pattern. So almost every Eeyore has a pattern. Now, your instinct sometimes as a leader is to try to fix it, try to change the Eeyore. I'm going to ask you instead to identify their pattern. I'll give you an example. In my marriage, my husband is a venter and I'm a problem solver. This is one of the cruxes of the most difficult things in life I have to deal with. Because if somebody gives me a problem, I'm going to go boop, 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 boop. Here's 2 different angles. So we can do this right now. We can do this later. And my mind goes crazy. My husband needs to vent about a problem. He's not always looking for a solution. So I have to stop in my head and say, I think he's venting. I just have to shut my problem-solving brain off. Then he has to say in his head, I just need to talk about it. I'm not looking for a solution. And our marriage works far better. And by the way, we're not perfect at that. But when you know a pattern of an Eeyore, you can expect it. So if you know that they're particularly resistant to change, you can invite them to understand change a bit earlier. You can also fully know that they're going to not be excited about change and just keep moving forward. Most Eeyores have the pattern of, shock about change. Why are we doing this? A little bit of a victim mentality. But over time, that mentality then changed from that to frustration as they're going through change. This is when they're slamming keyboard. I can't believe we're doing this. This is ridiculous. It doesn't work. And of course, it's never that they're not doing it right. It's that other things don't work. That's always the key, right? So you have to understand that. And then you have to understand that even after everybody's adapted the change and many people are happy about whatever it is going on, you will find that they are sort of partially adopted the change. They won't ever say they like it, but they will stop saying they hate it, but they still go back to, well, I wish it did what this system did and kind of hold on to those little tendrils out there. Know it, accept it, and don't let it bother you. It's just part of who it is. Understand that that's just part of the process, just like my husband's adventure. I just accept it's part of the process. Once I've accepted it, my life becomes a whole lot better. So that's our tips on finding the patterns of Eeyores that your agency can still survive, thrive, and work with an Eeyore on your team. In this final video, Keith Sharon's going to talk a little bit about how you need to move forward even when there is an Eeyore on your team. Don't let it damper your candle. Don't let it put out your sunshine. Understand that different personality types exist and that it's your job as a leader to keep moving through, even when an Eeyore might be giving you a little obstruction.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the mayor here, Heath Sheeran, with another 3-minute video. And this week we are talking about Eeyores. As you heard this week, if you haven't, go back. Kelly talked about identifying the Eeyores in the agency. We talked about if you could change them or not. And today we're going to be talking about, navigating around or working with an Eeyore. If you determine that you cannot get rid of them or it's not the best move to, maybe now we look into the option of working around them, working with them to try to figure out how they could be used for good. Maybe how we could turn that into a positive. And working with the Eeyores, I've figured out a lot of times they are more of your detail-oriented types, and maybe they're more those types. That's 90% of what I see in the Eeyores. And maybe you could find a way to turn that into a positive. Asking pessimistic or Eeyores in the agency to shift their perspective. And maybe instead of them saying, I'm just not going to do it, or being disruptive in the sense of, I'm just not going to do it, or, they become that cancer and talking about it, the water cooler or whatever. Maybe you come to them and ask, what's wrong? What would you do? Or do you see a different process or an improvement to the process? So if you're trying to introduce a new procedure, a new process, or a new item into the agency and there's a little pushback, hey, Eeyore, what is your solution? What do you think? Is there a way that we can improve this? Or is there a way that this could be different? What seems to be the problem? And maybe they have an idea. Maybe that employee feels like they're not being heard. And maybe we need to listen to their thoughts more. Maybe they have some valid ideas for changing the process or the program. Could be a part of their strength to bring to the table to identify problem issues or future issues. Maybe they see it ahead of time. I think it's an idea to try to get Eeyores on the same page with us in that manner. So I just really wanted to challenge us to think of it from that perspective. Again, if that does not work or it's not something that you see as feasible here, the other option is to make them have them more of a task-oriented role to where they come in, they get their job done, and they move on, and not have an opportunity to complain a lot or to be heard in that way that is going to bring that cancer. And maybe we separate them from a large group that they could impact with their negative attitudes. Have a conversation with them in their next review. Maybe they don't recognize with them and let them know that this is what your expectations are and here's how it's going to be. And if they do have the negative comments from time to time, then we just let it roll off our backs. I truly believe there's a difference in having a bad day or a bad week or maybe a bad season in your life. Maybe you're struggling with some things. Maybe that Eeyore is having a tough time at home or struggling with something internally. And so instead of them bringing that there, maybe you figure out a way to turn that into a positive. That could be a large part of it. So I think instead of trying to let them be that cancer or trying to work with them in the way they are. Maybe a way of working around them is to try to turn them into a positive or take them out of situations to where their negativity can negatively impact the agency. I really feel like the goal is should be not to immediately try to fire them or to get rid of them. Maybe try to empower them first, or maybe try to work with them to turn more into a positive person. Maybe they won't ever be a Tigger, and maybe they won't always be upbeat and bubbly and positive, and that's okay. To each their own in that. But being a cancer and causing problems and not doing certain things can cause a major problem in the agency. So let's look at ways of dealing with it from that perspective. I really hope that this video has helped you. I hope that this week with the Eeyore videos have helped you. We'll have a mashup video coming up soon, and I really hope that that's really going to help you a lot. You can check out the podcast, send it to your friends that may have an Eeyore in the agency, and this may be something that can help someone outside the industry, so maybe you send it to them as well. Again, I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you on the next one.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this journey of Eeyores. We appreciate it greatly. We can't wait to share with you what's next. Some details will be coming in the coming weeks, but so very excited to change things up a little bit, show you some new stuff, and ultimately drive as much value as we can for all the agencies out there that watch us and follow us. So this is Kelly Donahue-Pirro signing off. If you've enjoyed this 3-minute video, make sure to like it, comment, share it with your team. And most importantly, subscribe to all of our channels so you don't miss a thing, because what we have coming up next is pretty darn cool. We'll see you in the next videos.